Is the tragic death of Diane Sindall in Merseyside. Diane was killed sometime around midnight on Friday, August the 1st, on Borough Road in Birkenhead. It's the busy main road through the town, but it's also a trunk route linking Liverpool with North Wales and Cheshire. So police are hoping that long-distance travellers, as well as local people, might be able to help. Diane lived and worked in Seacombe, just outside Birkenhead.
Hi. Are you doing okay?
21-year-old Diane Sindall was a florist. Residents of Seacombe were used to seeing her blue van making deliveries. She'd been engaged for 4 years, and she was planning to get married next year. During the day, she worked at her uncle's greengrocer in Seacombe, just round the corner from her flat.
Are your steak pies hot?
Red hot.
Oh, go on, get one then.
Okay. Oh, well, she used to come in every day, you know, for a pie, a hot pie. She used to go to market early in the morning. So she used to count, you know, how much everything was. But, I mean, she was saving up to get married. It's only natural that you're careful. I mean, I was at that age.
Yeah. She was a very nice girl.
It's something that shouldn't have happened.
No.
For the past year, she'd been earning extra money, working 3 evenings a week at a pub called the Wellington, just outside Birkenhead in Bebington. On the evening of her death, it was, as usual, about 11:30 by the time the pub had been cleared up and Diane was able to leave.
Absolutely starving, yeah.
She said she might pick up something to eat on the way home.
I don't know, I think I'll stop off and get some fish and chips.
By 11:45, Diane was in her blue van, heading towards home. It's a 5-mile journey back to Seacombe along the old Chester Road. 2 joiners were working late in a car accessory store at the junction where Diane had to turn left into Borough Road, Birkenhead. It was about midnight when one of them saw the blue van stop. A short time later, the other joiner saw Diane leaving her van. It had run out of petrol. Diane set out along Borough Road, walking away from the centre of Birkenhead in the direction of Tranmere. She might have been planning to call on a nearby friend for help, or she may have been heading for a petrol station half a mile away, or perhaps she hoped to pick up a taxi. After that first sighting by the 2 joiners at the auto centre, the second sighting was a few minutes later, further along Borough Road. Crossville Bus Company driver Gary Lamb on his last run of the night.
I was on the last 87 bus from Parkgate, which leaves Parkgate at 11:30, and that'll get me down to Borough Road about midnight. What I seen was a young girl just before the 42 bus stop on Borough Road, and she seemed to be looking in a bag and turning round as if she was looking for a bus. There was definitely no chance she'd get a bus that time of night.
Then a third sighting within yards of the bus drivers. It was soon after 12:10. A taxi driver looking for fares.
It was around about 12:10. I was driving along Borough Road. 10 lies on Borough Road. As I passed the garage at the bottom of Argyle Street, I saw a couple ahead of me. When I passed them, I noticed they were arguing. The fella put his hand out towards the girl. They appeared to know each other, but they were definitely arguing. It was as if they'd been to a club and then, you know, had a fight, and then were walking home together, you know.
Further along Borough Road, a couple driving home saw her near the junction with Whetstone Lane. As far as we know, this was the last time she was seen alive. The mystery is that Diane's body was found in an alley 150 yards back along Borough Road. Had she walked back, or had somebody driven her back? The next day, Saturday the 2nd of August, around noon, a local woman was walking her dog. Diane's body was lying only yards from Borough Road. Two and a half miles away at Bidston Hill that Sunday, 3rd of August, Anne Loven and Jim Foster were exercising their dogs. As they walked down a path near Viner Road North, they noticed someone had started a fire. Jim found a bag, a pair of blue jeans and some other clothing still burning. There was also a charred page from a Barclays paying-in book. Well, Detective Superintendent Tom Baxter is in charge of this investigation. Those were Diane's clothes burning there, weren't there?
Yes.
But whoever started that fire only just done so.
Yes, the fire was discovered about 8 p.m. on the evening of Sunday, the 3rd of August. We do feel that the person who was burning Diane's clothing was disturbed. We are anxious, to that end, to trace anybody who was on the Bidston Hill area that evening, whether it be anybody who witnessed the fire, whether they saw anybody acting suspiciously, or whether they saw anybody carrying a bundle of clothing, or maybe carrying a bag which could possibly have contained that clothing.
Must have looked quite conspicuous, actually, too. Could you just show us on the map now those 3 places where Diane was seen that Friday night on the 1st of August? That's where she ran out of petrol.
Diane ran out of petrol on Borough Road opposite the Auto Safety Centre. She left her vehicle, and then there are 3 sightings of her as she walked along Borough Road out of the Birkenhead town centre.
The extraordinary thing is that that last sighting at the junction of Borough Road with Whetstone Lane, her body was found 150 yards back along Borough Road. Now, how do you account for that?
Well, we don't know. We haven't got any sightings whatsoever of Diane walking back along Borough Road towards the town centre.
Her body was found very near where the taxi driver saw her, and she appeared to be arguing with somebody in a leather jacket. You're obviously anxious to find him.
Yes, this is a very important sighting. It appears that Diane was arguing with a man, and we are anxious to trace this person.
There was another girl assaulted that very same night on Borough Road. It's extraordinary that nobody saw anything.
Yes, there was a girl assaulted on Borough Road that evening. She was a 17-year-old girl who was dressed in yellow. She was subjected to an indecent assault and was eventually found on a park bench, sobbing and in a distressed condition.
Don't you feel somebody must have seen something? If 2 girls are assaulted on the same road, it's a busy road.
Yes, I do. It's very relevant that the assault must have taken place about the same time that we feel that Diane met her death, and I find it incredible in this busy, well-lit area that nobody has come forward who has actually seen either of these assaults taking place.
And somebody in a white Ford Sierra was seen too, who you'd like to come forward?
There was a white Sierra seen parked close to the murder scene at the relevant time. I would like that driver to come forward.
Well, if you can help, please, if you can see anything that night which might help, please ring us. And if you've been approached or accosted or assaulted in the Borough Road area any time in the last few weeks, any description you can give could be vital. You can ring and speak in complete confidence to a female BBC researcher or a woman police officer. The number here in the studio, 01811 8055, or call Birkenhead Police Station on 051 777 4979.0 051, the code for Liverpool, 777 4979.
Well, now we go to Liverpool. Detectives have asked us to help them find a killer who appears to be deranged. In fact, some newspapers have likened it to a Jack the Ripper crime. The facts are that someone, or conceivably several people, killed a prostitute and then mutilated her body. The victim, Linda Donaldson, was found 18 miles away at Winnick Lane near Lee. Helen Phelps takes up the story.
About a mile from Liverpool city centre is Canning Street. It's a small part of the Toxteth area, and it's the city's main red light district. Every night about 20 women are out looking for clients who circulate the area in cars. Many of the women here are on the streets for one reason: heroin. They're drug addicts and have turned to prostitution as a means of funding their needs. Linda Donaldson was one of them. She was well liked. A number of the other women and one of her regular clients have spoken to us about her.
Her mother was only 15 when she had Linda. Her father was from another country and Linda never saw him. Linda was brought up by her grandmother.
What was she like?
Very friendly, a great personality. I found her quite a lovable person and loving in return. I was her client at first, obviously, but I really do miss her.
I liked her. Everyone liked her. All the girls got on with her.
If there ever was a punter that was really bad or evil, you know, or he wanted something dead kinky, she'd tell you, she'd let you know about him.
She just cared. She cared. She was that sort of person.
Linda was careful in a number of ways. She regularly visited this clinic, which was set up to prevent the spread of AIDS by distributing free needles and condoms. And she took clients home by a back alley, back Canning Street, so as not to offend neighbours.
I want somebody who walks the streets to respond.
Linda was invited to appear on the Kilroy programme a year ago and talked about this very issue.
The police in Liverpool wanted us to walk on a deserted street in front of the cathedral, and then they thought about it a bit more, and they put us back into the residential area.
Do you get problems with residents in Liverpool?
Well, I certainly don't walk past when someone's got kids around me. I wouldn't dream of chatting up a man right in front of kids. Not many girls will.
From 7 o'clock on the night of Monday the 17th of October, Linda was at her regular spot here on the corner of Canning Street, where she lived, and Catherine Street. She was distinctive because she always wore black. Sometime before 10 o'clock, she visited this shop in Windsor Street to buy some groceries. It was part of a normal routine. After shopping, she returned to her flat to feed her pets. She walked everywhere quickly.
Come on, love. Come on.
Linda loved animals. She had a dog and 3 cats, strays which she and her flatmate had rescued from the streets.
Where's me kiss then, eh? Hey? Yeah.
In Belgium, the trial of the British fans involved in the Heysel disaster opens in confusion. Tonight, many of them are on their way back home to Liverpool.
By 11 o'clock, Linda was back at her usual corner. She was spotted by 2 policemen.
You are?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It was a quiet night, but other women say Linda met a number of clients.
What's your name, love?
It's Tracy.
Tracy was her working name. It's vital that anyone who saw or met her that night comes forward. About 11:30, another prostitute was approached by a man whose behaviour made her uneasy.
You doing business?
Yeah?
Do you know anywhere dark?
Forget it.
No, come on.
No, come on, leave off, okay?
Oh, come on.
Look, I'm telling you, bug off or I'll get the police.
She was worried by the clanking in the bag, and so far police have been unable to trace him. She's compiled this video fit of him. He's described as 5'11" tall, in his late 20s, and was wearing a white polo neck sweater. About 2 hours later, the same prostitute met Linda.
Hiya, Linda, how's it going? It's a bit quiet.
Yeah, it is. I've just had one of those weirdos tonight.
You're joking.
Told him to get on his bike. I'm going to call it a day now, OK?
Right.
See you around. Take care. Bye.
Taxi.
As she got in, she noticed Linda moving towards a dark car which was pulling into Back Canning Street. Who was in the car? No one else saw her alive after this. Just over 4 hours later, 18 miles away, a maroon Ford Granada Mark II was spotted parked in Winnick Lane near Lee. People in the car may have seen something, and police urgently need to speak to them. Then at lunchtime, this elderly couple pulled off the M6 at junction 22. Winnick Lane links the motorway with the A580 East Lancashire Road. They pulled in at the same place where the maroon car had been seen earlier.
We were coming from home and we were travelling up to Our daughter's in the Pennines. And usually about here I get stiff. I want to usually get out and stretch my legs.
And I said to Dorothy, is that a body down there? With that, I went down to look to make certain. Came back to Dorothy and said, it is a body, kid.
The body was naked. Linda had been stabbed to death and mutilated. Mr. Leaf stayed there while his wife went to fetch the police. Detective Chief Superintendent Ken Clark is in charge of the case.
We haven't been able to find a motive for the killing. It appears she was simply picked up, murdered, the body mutilated, and then dumped in this field where you see the men searching.
So where was she killed?
This, again, is a puzzle we haven't been able to satisfy ourselves about. It's quite obviously that the murder had plenty of room in order to carry out the killing and the mutilation. So there's somewhere between Liverpool and Winnock Lane that he has carried out the murder in plenty of light and taken his time over it. Despite appeals to the public, there's been no sign of a clothing or a handbag anywhere. And this is something that we want to find out. If anybody saw anybody acting suspiciously, such as dumping clothing or burning clothing, would they please come forward? And I appeal to anyone of the public who may have anything whatsoever, no matter how small or insignificant, it may be the vital clue that we require.
If you have any information, then call us now on 01 811 8055. Or you can ring the incident room direct on Liverpool 708 7277. That's 051, the code for Liverpool, 708 7277.
Vera Anderson. Vera was found dead in her car in the small hours of Sunday, August the 25th, bank holiday weekend. Vera had many friends, but certainly no enemies as far as anyone knows. She lived in Widnes with her 7-year-old son. Her grown-up daughter lived nearby. Many of Vera's friends were long-distance lorry drivers, so investigations could lead police anywhere in the country. Our reconstruction begins in Vera's hometown, in Widnes. Close to the M6 and the M62, Widnes is a convenient stopping place for long-distance lorry drivers travelling the length of Britain. And it was around a popular truck stop called the Roland Motel, a few minutes' drive from her home, that Vera's social life revolved. Everyone who knew her remembers Vera as a generous, sociable person. She was one of the few women regulars at the Roll-In. Over the years, she'd had several steady relationships with truck drivers she met there.
Oh, okay, go on then, see what you can do with that. You're going to get that dead easy.
She'd go to the Roll-In 2 or 3 times a week, occasionally with her daughter Lorraine.
She was very popular. Everybody liked her in there. I'd say the most popular woman in there, because everyone liked her. She was a bubbly sort of person. They just liked her, because she'd do anything for them. She used to do washing for truck drivers, you know, and they'd come and see me if they had any problems or anything like that. She used to knit bunny rabbits just for mostly babies, and the lorry drivers used to buy them for the lorries as well.
Did, yeah. Do you want one? $2.50.
On Saturday, August the 24th, the night of her death, Vera went out at about 10:15.
Run next door, Neil, and tell Etty I want her.
Earlier on, she'd had a phone call from someone whom police haven't as yet traced. Just before she left, she unloaded the boot of her old blue Ford Cortina. Perhaps she was making room for something.
Hello, Neil. Will you have Neil for 10 minutes? Yeah, why? What's up? I've got to pick my brother up. Look, I'll tell you about it when I get back. Okay.
She never referred to her brothers as my brother. It was always by the first names. And I thought it was unusual for Vera to go out that late at night on her own.
Although this pub in Penketh is only 5 minutes' drive from Vera's home, as far as we know, she rarely went there. But that night, at about 10:30, a witness thinks she saw her.
I remember seeing a lady walking in through the front door of the pub. She was obviously looking for somebody. When I turned back a few seconds later, the lady had her back to me, and she was then involved in a conversation with somebody who I never saw. Somebody had known she was coming into the pub, because in the length of time we'd both been in the place, there wouldn't have been time for her to go to the bar herself, get a drink, and return to where she was standing.
And one of the regulars also noticed the woman.
She had an open, pleasant face. She seemed very interested in what was going on at the bar, both with the customers and the service. On the odd occasion, I did speak to someone who was behind the pillar. They didn't appear to be lovers or husband and wife. They looked as though they knew each other, and that was it. The man I saw would have been around about 5'8", maybe up to 5'10" or 11. He had mousy to gingery hair. His age would be late 30s, possibly into his 40s.
By closing time, they'd gone, but no one had seen them leave. This is the back of the old tannery off Tannery Lane. It's about 2 minutes' drive from the pub and overlooked by Kenneth Adamson's house.
What I do before I get into bed every night is to look out the window, check the garden for cats, because I keep racing pigeons. And I happened to notice a car parked in the works.
At 1:30 a.m, Richard and Eileen Thomas were walking along Tannery Lane on their way home from the local social club.
There's a car up there, look. Hey, must be a courting couple, eh?
It's now 3:15 a.m.
Patrol to Warrington, urgent.
Patrol calling urgent. Go ahead, over.
Requesting supervision. Found a body in a vehicle.
Roger, on its way. Over.
Vera's throat had been cut. Now, Mr. Anderson, since we made that film, a new witness has come forward with some fresh information which could be quite important.
Yes, at 1:30 a.m. that night, a taxi driver picked up a man in Warrington Road, Penketh. Now, that's about half a mile from the murder scene and the Crown and Cushion pub. And he asked to be taken to the Halton View area of witness, which is about 100 yards from where Vera lived.
So that could be very crucial.
Indeed.
If anybody's seen somebody. What did he look like?
Well, he was in his 30s and he was wearing a raincoat.
So it's a raincoat rather like this one here.
Yes, that's right. Now, the significant thing about this man was that his right hand appeared to be injured. He had a handkerchief wrapped round it and the knuckles were grazed. Now, he may not have anything to do with this inquiry, but I'd ask him to come forward so he can be eliminated.
So if that man was you, or if you think you know who that man was, please do give us a call. What, if you have any theories as to why Vera was killed, what might they be? I mean, it wasn't a sexual assault, it wasn't a robbery.
I'll be quite frank, we don't know the motive. And if anyone has an idea as to why she was killed, I'd ask them to come forward. From our inquiries, we've not found any enemies that Vera had. Quite the contrary, she had a lot of friends, including lorry drivers who used to go to the Roland. And if any of those lorry drivers, who may be from anywhere in the UK, did know her and haven't been seen by the police, I'd ask them to get in touch with us. Anything that they're able to tell us about her lifestyle will be treated in confidence.
What's really mysterious is her uncharacteristic behaviour, pretending to a neighbour that she was going to go and pick up her brother. Do you think she knew the man who killed her?
Yes, I do. I don't think she would have left a 7-year-old son with a neighbour and gone out that Saturday night. She hadn't planned to do. I can only presume that she went out to meet someone that she knew. I think that the man in the pub, she'd met him before.
But she was normally such a straightforward person.
Yes, she was.
Could you remind us of the description of the man she met in the pub again?
Yes, he's a white male, about 5'8" to 5'11" tall, slim build with a thin face. He had mousy brown hair and a mousy moustache, and he was wearing a fawn jacket. This man has to be my prime suspect, and it's vital that we find him.
And he may, in fact, have been a little bit fairer than our artist's impression looked on the screen.
Yes,
there.
it was mousy to ginger, the colour of his hair.
And finally, there were some clues left behind in Vera's car. How helpful are they?
I think they're very helpful indeed. We haven't found the murder weapon, but the killer left 2 items. The first one was cords similar to this. We believe from our inquiries that it was made abroad, possibly Italy. Now, the outer core is plaited and it's white cotton, and the interior is man-made fibres and natural fibres. It's an unusual cotton mixture, the exterior. The second thing is a white minette glove. It was found at the scene. Now, these can be purchased at major stores throughout the country. People use them if they've got dermatitis or in the connection with the work for handling sensitive items. And it's possible that the killer uses both of these items in connection with his work. And if anyone's got any suggestions as to their origin, I'd like them to get in touch.
Well, thank you. If you can help with any of those points of appeal or know why somebody might have wanted to kill Vera, please do call us, either here in the studio on 081 811 8181 or at police headquarters in Chester, and the number there is 0244 313131. That's 0244, the code for Chester, 313131. Tonight we start with new details that have just become available on a case that's been uppermost in all our minds this week. The murder of 2-year-old James Bulger on Merseyside. The crime is so shocking not only because James was so young, but because every parent can identify with his mother, who lost sight of him for just a few moments.
In the past few hours, there have been several advances in the investigation. A psychologist has helped draw up a profile of whoever did it, and we've new pictures of the 2 boys seen walking off with James from the Strand shopping centre. Other clues are becoming clear tonight as well.
We'll start with that security video picture. The Ministry of Defence has employed the same enhancement techniques that were used during the Gulf War to identify targets. Now, these stills may look a little bit fuzzy still, but they're a huge improvement on the originals. This boy is now fairly recognisable. And just this afternoon, the woman whose child was approached by 2 boys in that same shopping centre that Friday has picked out these boys from the security videos. Police now firmly believe these are the same 2 boys who abducted James. It's been widely assumed these 2 are responsible for the little boy's death, but of course we must keep in mind the possibility that they were trying to help him. In fact, a witness has said that 2 boys with a toddler asked for directions to a police station. If one of those was you, you don't need me to tell you how important it is that you make contact with the police. You can call us now on 081 811 8181. This lad is between 11 and 12 years old. He's 4 foot 9 inches, slightly chubby, although not overweight. He has a roundish face with a small nose and short hair. Note he has a high hairline. He's wearing a black shiny blouse-on style jacket, which probably has a satin finish. It has elasticated cuffs, possibly with a motif on the left side. The other boy is slightly older, taller and slimmer. He's about 13, with a longer face and pale complexion. He has short, straight black hair. Witnesses remember his noticeable brown eyes and dark eyebrows. Both boys had Liverpool accents. If you recognise them, please call us. We can now trace with greater certainty the route along which James was taken after leaving the New Strand shopping centre. That was just after 20 to 4 last Friday afternoon. He probably went down Park Street, just opposite the centre. Just after 4 o'clock, we cross Hawthorne Road into Oxford Road. These pictures from the security camera at Amek Builders Merchants show 3 girls a short distance behind the boys. Those girls have now been identified. They lost sight of the boys at the top of Oxford Avenue. Then the sightings at the reservoir on Breeze Hill. At about 20 past 4, 3 witnesses saw a toddler. Police are now almost certain it was James, in the company of 2 boys aged between 12 and 14. James was distressed, and there seemed to be a slight injury to his forehead. One of the witnesses demanded to know what was going on, and one of the 2 boys said they'd found the child on the embankment. Did you see the 2 boys and the toddler here on Breeze Hill?
To help you, we can now show you exactly what James was wearing when he disappeared. His outfit was damaged, part of it was missing, and his mother, understandably, was too distressed at first to give much detail. But we know that his anorak is multicoloured, in fact, identical to this. It had a fairly distinctive lining, and there's a motif here on the front which says, "Don't cross my way." His tracksuit was silvery blue with, as you can see, white stripes down the side, and he was wearing trainers, white trainers with this black inlay here. And here's a picture of a toddler who was dressed as James was when he disappeared.
The next sighting of James is about 3 miles away on Walton Village Road, near St Mary's Church. This is where 2 lads asked a passer-by for directions to the police station. That was about 10 to 5, just over an hour after James went missing. James's body was found on the railway track, which is just a little further along Cherry Lane.
A forensic psychologist tonight helps complete the pattern. He's been through the evidence so far and still has work to do to firm things up, but he's convinced that by the time we finish this appeal, somebody watching Crimewatch will have a pretty good idea of who did this to James. As when children occasionally torture animals, this could, he thinks, have been a prank, a ghastly prank, that went disastrously too far. Now, if you know a boy who fits the descriptions we've given so far, see if anything that follows also fits. Since Friday afternoon, his behaviour will have changed. He might be agitated or unusually quiet. He may have wanted to stay at home for much of Saturday, which won't be his normal behaviour. He won't appear to be ill or show that he's unhappy. If anything, he'll try to show no emotions at all. He's likely to be withdrawn. But the changes will be marked enough to be noticeable, and not just to his family, but also, if they think about it, to his friends as well. He may be regularly involved in petty crime, like shoplifting. He may bunk off school quite a bit and pass away some of his time in amusement arcades, certainly in the shopping centre. Most importantly, despite some reports to the contrary, the psychologist is almost certain that he lives within walking distance of where James was found.
Well, Superintendent Kirby, the boys we've been appealing to, any boys who know something, may be deterred from ringing, especially after seeing the scenes of public anger after Tuesday night's arrests. They might be very frightened. What can you do to persuade them to ring?
All I can do is to assure them that if they ring us directly at the incident room, or if they contact through a friend or even a solicitor, a member of their family, I can give them every assurance that we will do everything in our capabilities to ensure there's no repetitions of what took place earlier in the week, and we will look after their identity and make sure nobody's aware of it.
And you also need the public's cooperation in that regard too from now on.
We do, and certainly that's not been lacking right throughout the inquiry.
We've heard what the psychologist had to say. What sort of boys do you think you're looking for?
I think what Nick has said covers everything very well. The only thing I would reiterate there is the fact that perhaps their parents are not aware of some of those features, i.e. missing school, stealing, and then going into amusement arcades. But if parents do now identify these features, as distressing as it may be, I would appeal to them to come to us, because there's no doubt that that child needs a lot of care and attention.
With the willingness of the public to help, and now with these new pictures, it's hard to believe that you won't find them. Do you think it is only a matter of time now?
I've got every confidence with the way that the whole inquiry has been going, and the massive amount of help and assistance that we've had from all sectors of the public within Merseyside, that will achieve that in the end.
And obviously it's better for them to come to you rather than the other way round.
It is, as we've said right throughout the inquiry. There is every possibility that the boys who abducted the baby from the shopping precinct may not be those at the end who've actually committed the murder. And in fairness to them, we must keep a very open mind on it.
It's been reported that you're widening out the inquiry now, although the psychologist believes they are local lads.
Yes, we are widening it out into much as we're taking into an area about 3 miles away. But we believe that the identity of the offender will be within that fairly close area. If it's not where they live, it will be friends or relatives.
Now, with so much public concern, the danger is here that you're going to get more calls than you can handle. So who exactly do you want to hear from? What are your priorities?
It is a problem. We are getting so many calls. All I would appeal, and I repeat what I've already put out before, is if anyone's seen baby James anywhere with these 2 boys, please come forward. If anyone's got any other information whatsoever that they may think could be of assistance, not is, but may be of assistance, again, please come to us. But I think even more important, I repeat what I've said before, if there's any parents at all who've got any alarm and concern, they must, and I stress that, must make some effort to contact us.
Mr. Kirby, thank you. This is the number, 081 811 8181 here, or you can call Merseyside Police direct on 2 special lines, and that's 051 777 6488, 051 777 6488, or 051 777 2655. That's 051 777 2655. Julie Finley in Liverpool. Although 8 months have passed now since she was killed, detectives believe there are still people who may have important information on the case. In fact, it wasn't until 3 months after Julie's death that the most important witness in the case so far came forward. And that's when our film begins in Liverpool, where Julie lived.
What time are you going to Mum and Dad's on Sunday?
Probably about 1.
Do you want a lift?
That'd be great. You could pick us up around 1:45. Just hang on a minute, I want to go and get a paper.
What's that? It's about a murder. Do you remember I told you about that girl who ran in front of my car outside the hospital? I was badly shaken because I nearly knocked her down.
Yeah, so?
Well, that's it. That's the girl.
Maybe you should ring in and tell somebody about it.
Come on.
Incident room, Farnworth Street. Can I help you? Yes. So you recognise her from the poster, do you? And when exactly did this happen? Definitely that Friday, was it? Right, yeah. Can you remember anything else about her at all? Yeah.
Julie Finley was 23. She'd lived all her life in Liverpool, growing up in a close family of 5 children.
Julie's my second oldest child. As a child, she was very lovable, very kind, soft-hearted. Julie started changing when she was about 19. My first noticed when her personality started changing. I got told that Julie was on drugs, which shocked me, really shocked me. I was very upset and very disappointed in Julie, because I thought, you know, Julie was more sensible than that, to touch drugs.
Although Julie's addiction to heroin had dramatically changed her life, she'd remained close to her family.
Oh yeah, finally bringing this stuff back. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't come out. We don't find them anymore. Is me mum in? Yeah. Mum, it's our Julie!
Hello, Jill. How are you doing, love?
I'm all right, I'm a bit tired. A bit run down, you know. How are you?
Yeah, same as usual. Nothing new. You've just missed your dad. He's gone out for the afternoon.
Let's see when he gets back in.
Yeah.
Mum, can I have a bath?
Yeah, go up. There's still some hot water left. Feeling better? Mm-hmm. You taking care of yourself?
Trying to. Mum, can I borrow £3?
Yes, sure. Pass me back.
I'll give it back when I get my cheque-book down.
Don't worry about it. There you go. Nice.
Shall I come round for Sunday lunch?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Listen, I've got to get off, all right, but I'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah. Look after yourself.
OK.
Julie and her boyfriend had recently moved into a friend's flat near Faulkner Square.
So how was your mum's then?
Fine. She wants me to go round for Sunday lunch.
Oh, you gonna go?
Yeah, probably.
You going out soon then?
Yeah, better get going, really.
What time do you think you'll be back?
Oh, a couple of hours.
All right, see you later then.
See ya.
The neighbourhood is a well-known red light area, and Julie mixed frequently with the local prostitutes. That night, a prostitute who knew Julie saw her in Grove Street.
That's 11 o'clock.
Julie mentioned she was expecting to meet someone at 11. It was shortly after 11, and not far from here, that the witness who saw the poster was driving home along Pembroke Place. Julie seemed to be running towards someone across the road. This man would have been one of the last people to see Julie alive. The next day, 15 miles outside Liverpool.
The Liverpool Century Road Club were having a 10-mile time trial race on the Rainford bypass.
Oh, Kevin, I'm on there. Not too bad. 120, yeah?
I'd gone along to collect my number and my start time. After I collected that, I wanted to answer the call of nature before I set off. So I headed to some bushes by a field at the side of the lay-by.
Mike, here, quick!
I think I found a dead body in it.
We better have a look.
Julie had been strangled.
And, you know, it's just odd. This Mother's Day, that there was no card, nothing from it. I just went up to her grave. The flowers I got for Mother's Day, I put them on Julie's. You know, because I missed her so much and I loved her.
Well, Mr. Ewell, you have one witness who saw something which could be very important. It was on the night Julie died, and at the lay-by where her body was found, at around the time she died as well.
That's correct, yes. At about 12:45 a.m. on the morning that Julie's body was to be found later, a white transit van with a D, E or F registration was seen in the lay-by, which is near the Wheatsheaf public house on the Rainford bypass. There could be one of three reasons this vehicle was there. Either it was used and the girl was killed in the back of it. Secondly, her body could have been transported to the scene in that vehicle. Or thirdly, it may be that quite an innocent reason it's there, namely a courting couple who have been reticent to come forward because perhaps they were embarrassed. If that latter is the case, please, discretion will be the watchword with me. If they come forward and let us eliminate this, it's most important that we find this van.
Right, so please do call if that was you. The last definite sighting of Julie herself is still back in Liverpool in Pembroke Place, near her flat.
Yes, that's right. As you've seen from the film, that a man was seen to be approached by Julie, who was obviously anxious to speak to him. He may well be her drug dealer. The man's description, about 28 years, 5'10" to 6 foot, stocky build, dark, tidy hair, and dressed in dark clothing. Now, I'm not interested in the drugs aspect. I'm interested in finding the killer. And so I would ask anybody who can suggest who this man may be, or who was in the area at the time, to come forward, again, in complete confidence.
Right. Now, some of Julie's clothes are still missing.
That's absolutely right. And if I can show clothes that we've purchased. These are a white blouse and brown buttons at the top and black jeans. They're in good condition. They were found by a young man the following day on the wasteland at Low Hill. The young man didn't read anything into this and left them, but he didn't contact the police for several days, and when we arrived, and happily, the clothes had disappeared. We do believe firmly that they were Julie's. We feel whoever's taken them has committed no crime, but found that they're in good condition, could utilise them. So I say to them, it's absolutely essential we find those clothes for forensic examination. They're in no trouble. Come forward, please let me have them.
Absolutely vital. If you can help, please do call. Your information and your identity will be treated with great discretion. Detectives and BBC staff are here answering calls in the studio, 0500 600 600, or you can ring Mr Ewell's colleagues at the incident room in Liverpool on 0151 777 3600. That's 0151 for Liverpool, 777 3600.
Died into the Wirral. Someone in the area is violently disturbed, but may not show it. 2 weeks before Christmas, he indulged in a calculated, ritualistic murder. But his behaviour at the scene was so controlled, it's possible he showed no signs to his friends of what he'd done. Now, perhaps you know someone who maybe is generally a little odd, who lives in the area, who acted strangely in the past, and perhaps he has a history of trouble and has previously been violent. His victim was 74-year-old Alice Rye from Spittal, and many of her neighbours have helped us reconstruct what happened. Alice had been recruited to the Women's Institute by her close friend and neighbour, Phyllis Kellett.
When we went to meetings and they were asking for people to be on the committee, and I'd be saying, come on now, let's let your name go forward. And she'd be saying, oh, no, I couldn't go on a committee. And she did get onto the committee, of course.
New Year.
Oh, how lovely.
So I'm planning a long break down with one of my daughters.
Oh, your daughter's down in Surrey.
It's going to be lovely.
Alice was born and bred in Newborough, North Wales. She trained as a wartime nurse with her sister Anne.
I'm the eldest, but she's only 15 months younger than me. But she could put me in my place, mind you. She was that type of girl. We were very, very near. We did everything together, but she got married during the war, 1944, and travelled the world with her husband.
Her husband Colin died in 1986, and Alice turned more than ever to her neighbours.
If there was any social occasion, we might go together. And we helped each other when we could, when she was away, which was quite a lot with the family. I just went into her house, you know, and just had a look all round and did whatever was necessary.
Yes, it's me. I've just been in to see Geoffrey, so I thought I'd pop in and see you too. Not disturbing you, right?
No, of course not.
Come on in.
I called in on the Sunday because I said I won't be able to see you for a few days, but come if you need anything.
I'm going to be away for a whole month.
So that was how it was, you see, and it was just a kind of help each other relationship.
Two days later, Tuesday the 10th, and Alice was out and about as usual.
I can't stop, Alice. I'm just going to catch the post.
Oh, dear. I'll catch you some other time.
That afternoon, I didn't see Alice go out, but usually she would have a walk around the estate, a fairly long walk.
Well, I knew Alice from church. I did come along Poulton Road in good time to meet my grandson from school, so I was driving quite slowly when I saw Alice coming out of the slip road.
This is the last known sighting of Alice alive.
Whilst I was doing the vegetables, I heard this almost like a wailing noise, and it went up to a crescendo, as though somebody was in pain. It came 3 times, and I thought, if that happens again, I must do something about it. But it didn't. So I just went in and didn't think anything more about it.
"45 minutes later, these local residents were driving past the slip road that leads to Alice's house on Poulton Road.
I had a hospital appointment at 6 o'clock.
And if we go down the Lever Coast
Just as we got to near the slip road, a man walked out in front of us, completely oblivious to anything that was going on. He was about 5'11", late 20s, early 30s, quite powerfully built, his hair shortish but wavy at the side. His eyes were focused on the other side of the road, and he just kept walking. Didn't react at all. This was what was so strange.
This couple were returning home just opposite Alice's house.
I wonder who these are.
I have no idea.
I was suspicious when I saw the car simply because it was parked in a place where visitors don't normally park. I was a bit unnerved at this. I just felt dubious of their presence.
Do you think we should call the police?
I wouldn't worry about it, love. Let's go in.
Oh, I don't like it.
Can you eliminate the two people in the white car?
After a few minutes, the car came into the drive. There were a young couple in their 20s. He was slim-featured. He had dark hair, swept back, and she was a young girl with a fuller face. She had shoulder-length hair, which looked brown.
At 8 o'clock next morning, I looked out and noticed that the gates were open. And I began to wonder why. By this time I was quite concerned in that there was something not as it should be.
Alice? Alice?
I went upstairs. I just simply froze at the horror of what I saw.
Alice's body was in the spare room. She'd been stabbed and by now had been dead for some hours.
I'm trying to pretend that she's still there. And then it comes over you that she's not there. But that's the only way I think I can live, is to pretend that she still is. And what else can I do? Nothing else I can do, is there?
George Denson, what can we do?
We need to eliminate these people from the inquiry. I don't think there might be anything sinister in these sightings, but we need them to come forward so we can do that.
So that's the guy who was walking across the road, not paying a lot of, seemingly in his own thoughts, not paying much attention to the traffic, and the couple in the white car.
That's correct, yes.
Tuesday, the 10th of December. Now, some things were left in the house, and some things were taken from Alice's house. They're obviously a good clue. Tell us about this first, which was left in Alice's place.
This is a copy of a triangular bandage which we believe the offender left at the scene.
Now, you don't want to know where triangular bandages come from. These brought anywhere. This has had bits cut off it. Corners there. This was a triangle which, obviously, there's a bit missing there. Up here.
It's been deliberately cut with obviously a blunt pair of scissors or some instrument. And what we need to know is, has anybody seen the missing pieces of this particular bandage?
Not pleased to ring us if you've just seen a piece of bandage. Does it connect with something that we've said tonight, perhaps in the introduction, about the sort of man that might be responsible? Now, what about the things that were taken? I know this is very, very important. Describe why this is significant to me, will you?
Yes, this is Alice's husband had 4 of these made from one long chain.
So 4 of these identical ones? Identical
ones. So in that sense, they're unique. We know Alice very rarely took hers off, not even for bed. It's missing from the body, and we know where 3 of them are with her 3 daughters, 2 daughters and daughter-in-law, so we need to know where the missing bracelet is.
So if you've seen this, it could lead us to the killer.
It could indeed.
Her watch is missing too, yeah?
Yes, that's a lady's Omega watch with a gold bracelet and a champagne face.
Okay.
And there is a small gold brooch which has 3 pearls running through the centre, and she would use that to clip her scarf to her cardigan.
All of this is a very long shot, perhaps the longest of all. Her travel zone, Merseyside travel zone pass is missing. If you've seen that, would have her details on the back of it, her access card and other details. This man has to be caught. If you've any suggestions, please call us right away. There's the number, the free call line's here to the studio, or you can ring the incident room in Wallasey. That's on 0151 777 2920. 0151 777 2920. Start with a case that made national headlines 6 weeks ago, the murder of Julia Webb in Sandiway in Cheshire. It captured attention because, as with the killing of Rachel Nickel on Wimbledon Common or the death of Margaret Wilson on Humberside, It seemed so unfair, so hard to understand.
We've been married for 27 years. In fact, in 3 days' time, it will be our wedding anniversary. I know everybody says they've got the best wife in the world, but I mean, really, you'd have to get, you know, have to be something special to be Julie. We're more or less telepathic in some ways, you know, because each would know what one another was thinking. You never know these things are going to happen, do you? I sometimes blame myself, really, because she bought me a mobile phone for my birthday, and I sometimes wish now that I'd rang her up that day, but I was just too busy working. I wish I'd have told her I loved her. But she knew that anyway, you know, I didn't, you know, our time of life, you know, you don't have to keep telling one another these sort of things. I mean, you know it. She knew I loved her, and I knew she loved me.
Have you seen this? Caring for the elderly.
The Webbs live as 3 generations. Grandad Bill, husband John, and 2 sons, Nick and Chris.
Morning, Mum.
Julia was the only woman in a very male household.
Morning, Grandad.
We all quite get on, really. Maybe, obviously you get under each other's feet now and again, but there's never too many arguments. I work nights, come home and go to bed in the morning, early morning. She was just a typical mother. She's always fussing you, and you're not going out in that air, and the usual mother things.
Julia used to take the dog for Rosie for a walk, and I saw her going up the path, turn right and going up the road, and she got opposite the end of the house there. She turned round, waved.
Come on, girl. Here, Rosie, come on.
That was the last I saw.
I was walking back from work along Chester Road, and as I was approaching the Wirral Road junction, I noticed a man on the other side. As he got closer, I noticed he had a walking stick. It was like a reddish colour. Never seen one like it before. As I walked past him, he stopped to cross over Chester Road. He was in his 60s. He was about 5'8", had white hair, going bald on top. He was wearing a 3/4 length beige jacket and beige trousers. And I continued to walk down Wirral Road, turned back and saw him walking up the right-hand side of Kennel Lane.
He may be a crucial witness. Further down that lane, still at around 3:15 p.m. on that Wednesday, the 22nd of July.
I noticed the car, Silver Lion. It pulled into a lay-by in front of me. The driver sat there for a few seconds. He then got out of the car, walked towards me as though he was going to say something. As he got level with me, he just walked straight past. I turned round to see what he was doing. He was just staring into the trees, basically. I turned round again as I got a bit further up the lane, and he would just turn round and went back to get into his car. 5'6", 5'7", in his 30s, medium build, short cropped black hair with a full designer, stubble beard, quite dark skinned. He was wearing a beige padded body warmer and blue jeans. And I thought at the time it was a bit odd, looked a bit suspicious. He just seemed out of place, really, basically.
Chris, are you awake? It's nearly dinner time. Your mum's not back yet.
Yeah, OK, Grandad, I won't be a minute.
The first place I went was Kennel Lane.
Oh, shit.
As soon as I saw Rosie, yeah, I thought, well, there's got to be something wrong. I thought, if Rosie's here, well, my mum's got to be here somewhere.
Mum? 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 Excuse me. You've got to let me through.
I'm sorry, sir. You can't come through. There's been an accident.
Oh, no, there's been an accident. I think it's my wife down there.
I see. Would you come with me, please?
I got to the end of Kennel Lane, and the police wouldn't let me go any further. And it was a couple of hours later after that that I found out what had happened to Julie. But she was just such a lovely person. You would really think that she would be the last person that anybody would want to kill.
Peter Rigby, there must have been a motive. There must have been a reason for this.
There has to be a motive, but unfortunately we haven't identified one yet. But we do think it could be drug related, and that's because of the amount of drugs, syringes, etc. that we found in Kennel Lane. It also could be robbery orientated, but we know for a fact that the victim wasn't carrying anything of value. We also think it could be sexual, but evidentially we can't confirm that.
Do you reckon there's somebody watching tonight knows who did it?
There must be someone out there who knows something, whether it be in the criminal fraternity or it's a member of someone's family. They must have seen some kind of changes in their behaviour. We need, if anyone's got the slightest idea at all, please ring our incident room and come forward.
This happened on Wednesday the 22nd of July in the afternoon, so somebody's behaviour that changed in that area.
I imagine if the offender's got any kind of conscience at all, their behaviour must have started to change since that date.
And this is in the sort of Chester, Northwich area?
This is on the main A556 road which leads between Chester and Northwich.
Now there are several people we need to eliminate, one of which of course we showed was the chap with this stick. It's a very distinctive walking stick he's got.
It is very distinctive, and it remains a mystery to the inquiry teams. We have made numerous inquiries to try and trace the owner. It's the handle which is distinctive. It's interwoven in shape. It's tapered in length, the stick itself, and it's highly polished and dark red.
So if that's yours, you know who it is, or if you made it, that's an elimination. There's the man with the silver Orion we saw, who was dark-haired and quite close-shaved. That's an elimination. Anyone else you need to find?
Yeah, we know that there's a vehicle, a dark blue Cavalier, which frequents the lane. We're not saying it was there on the day in question, the 22nd of July, but we know from other witnesses that it has been there. What is distinctive about this vehicle is that it's got a dog cage in the back, so it could be someone purely just walking a dog.
A lot of people do walk their dogs there. So again,
indeed.
Just an elimination. Anybody else?
Yes, we know of a male that was seen running, not in Kennel Lane where the murder occurred, but in a neighbouring lane, Daleford's Lane, approximately 3:50 p.m. on the date in question. And this male is described as being young. He's 20 years of age. He's got short, close-cropped hair. He's wearing a long-sleeve dark shirt and jeans. He appeared agitated. He appeared to be carrying something in his hand, either a red rag or something like that.
All right, that's a very important sighting, and again, that needs to be eliminated. So any way you can help. The Webb family, of course, so anxious tonight, hoping people will call. If there's anything you can add, if you have any suspicions, any answers for this inquiry at all, don't hesitate. It's a free call here to the studio, 0500 600 600, or Cheshire Police on 01244 613 298. That's Chester, 613 298.
14 years ago. The case has never been solved, but it's one the police have never given up on. Tonight they're hoping Crimewatch can help. Can we reach someone's conscience where so far all other methods have failed? First, can we find whoever still puts flowers out for the victim twice a year? But more importantly, can we find someone, 14 years on, who'll tell us who killed Roland? Only one person has ever come forward as a witness to the events.
He was passionate about music. He loved playing the guitar. He loved Santana music, jazz, George Benson.
He had the whole world in front of him. I can see, looking back now, actually he was buzzing, really, is the word for Roland.
Are you joking? No way. I had no idea, and you never told me.
That's not exactly something you advertise, is it? Of course it isn't.
That's it. I'm not talking to you two again.
Popular with his student friends and the girls. He came to Liverpool to study physics. And then Liverpool sort of grew on him, and he sort of settled down here.
You were horrid on the dance floor.
Do you want to share a cab?
Nah, my place is nowhere near yours, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, there's bugger all here, Lisa. Come on, let's move further on.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I've only got £3 anyway, I'll walk.
Call me tomorrow, yeah?
Definitely, right? See you.
He'd prefer to walk away from fights, and he would be like a peacemaker if there was problems. That's Roland. His character.
You all right, mate? Hey. Jesus Christ. Can you hear me? Listen, mate. All right. I'll go and get help. I'm going to phone. All right. I'll be back. Are you all right? No, do you know what's happened? I don't know. Something going off, like, I don't know, like a gun or something.
I'll never forget that he was in the hospital with his face swollen up and his head bashed in, and then also being on the life support machine and the horrible noise of the machine, and trying to speak to him, but squeezing his hand. There was no life.
At the time of Roland's death, there was a feeling of helplessness, and the community wanted to do something to show the rest of Liverpool, to show Roland's family, to show people that we are a caring community.
Today Roland would have been 41, maybe a professional musician, or married with children.
I could see him with children, his nephews and niece running around at a garden barbecue or something else. I could see him enjoying himself.
Roland's family originally came from Mauritius. Was this a racist attack? At least 3 people seem to have been there. 14 years on, have any of them spoken about it? Maybe only one of them was actually involved. That leaves 2 of them to come forward as potential witnesses, and all of their friends who may have heard about it later. For Roland's sake, call 0500 600 600 or 0151 777 4077.
And witness statements, but there are times when the victims seem to be in 2 places at once, and there are several inconsistencies. We badly need new witnesses or tip-offs.
I'm going to the place where Mark and George's bodies were found. It's going to be the first time I've been since we had the funerals. Before that, I went every day for 2.5 months. Just used to sit there. I felt like I was sitting with Mark. Mark was the character. The children really miss the dad. They don't understand why the dad can't come home anymore. Some days they hate the dad because he can't come home.
You wouldn't say George was an aggressive person. He was just a devoted father and he just does not deserve what's happened to him. He was a quiet person, kept himself to himself. You know, he was just a lovely man.
Someone badly wanted both men dead. They were stabbed repeatedly, shot in the head with a .25 caliber handgun, dumped by a farm track and set on fire.
Mark and George have been close friends for the last 12 months, but the families knew each other for a long time. George knocked at my house about 5 o'clock and he spoke to Mark, played with the children for about 20 minutes, and then they just went out. They left my house about 5:30 and never came back. I often wish I'd had asked Mark where he was going to that evening, why he was going out, but there was nothing unusual about that evening.
It was a Monday night, almost exactly a year ago, when the pair set off in Mark's red Astra estate. If you had a red Astra estate, you might solve an intriguing sighting. A witness told police she'd seen a car just like that in Roundhay in Stockbridge village. She watched it for quite some time.
The vehicle suddenly turned left as though the driver had just decided to park at the last minute. I can definitely say that there were 3 occupants and one of them had blonde hair.
Was that you that the witness might have seen, or someone you know? The driver looked similar to Mark, and if it was Mark and George in that Astra, do you have any idea who they might have picked up, and why? But around the same time, according to another witness, Mark was several miles away where friends were playing football. This is a statement given at the time. Once again, we've used the voice of an actor.
A few minutes after 6, Mark arrived at the sports centre.
Hey, how you doing? Any chance of a game?
I was under the impression that we had a full team. He didn't seem to be too concerned.
Yet another witness might have seen Mark and George with another man, this time in Knowlesley Lane.
What actually drew my attention to the 3 men was the fact that the elder of them was carrying a full-size rifle range target, as used by the army. And if there was a target, in my mind, there's always a gun.
A bullet was found embedded in the trees, but it might have been there for months. If you were shooting legally, say with an air gun on that Monday evening, or saw what was going on, please call in. An hour later, Mark was seen by a relative as he drove down Knowlesley Lane towards Knowlesley village. A bit further on, 2 more hours later, someone else saw Mark's car. An anonymous caller told police something strange was happening in a lay-by.
The doors to Thompson's red Astra were open. A bodybuilder type takes something or somebody and forces it into the boot of having to use both hands to do so.
The other car was described as black and flashy. The lay-by is about 10 miles from Thornton, where the bodies were abandoned. But the trail goes on from there. Mark's Astra estate was driven on to West Derby, where it too was abandoned.
It was about 12:30. There was a man standing on a corner. This man told me that he'd seen 2 boys and a girl running away. He told me that he was starting to put his car in at night, so I assumed he lived locally.
Were you that man on the corner? Were you one of the others who watched the Astra burning?
In the back of the car was the remains of a tablecloth. The actual dimensions are something like 6 foot by 8 foot. It's distributed by a company called Laundrycraft, who have premises on Merseyside in Rain Hill. Now, interestingly, on this particular tablecloth, there's some paint stains. It's magnolia emulsion paint, a very common paint, of course. And what we think is this has been used as a dust sheet. And it may be someone will recall a sheet with some magnolia emulsion paint marks used on a painting job somewhere. I believe this sheet was used to either transport the bodies, wrap them in, or possibly just to cover them up in the back of the car. We've never discovered where these boys were killed. We really need to find that scene.
Do you know anything about that sheet? And what was going on? Detectives think that Mark and George may have been involved with drugs, but if you know anything about that or know any other possible motive, let us know. There's been a lot of speculation. What we need tonight are people in the area who've heard things on the grapevine, or better still, someone who can come up with hard evidence. 0500 600 600, or the incident room in Merseyside on 0151 777 8722.